Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a concept that's working all around you, all the time. In your savings account, on a car loan, you name it. We're talking about simple interest. Honestly, it's the first real step to understanding how your money actually works. So let's dive right in.
You've seen the word interest pop up everywhere, right? On your bank statements, loan applications. But what does it really mean? How do they even calculate it? Well, it all boils down to a super simple but really powerful formula. And once you get it, you'll have a huge advantage.
So, to really get a handle on simple interest, there are just 4 key things you gotta know. I like to think of them as the ingredients in a recipe. You learn what they are, and suddenly you can start cooking with your money.
And here they are, our 4 essential ingredients: principal, rate, time, and of course, interest. Let's just quickly break down what each of these really means in plain English.
Okay, first on the list is the principal. This is your starting point. It's that initial chunk of money you put into a savings account or the amount you borrow for a loan. You could think of it as the seed that everything else is going to grow from.
Next up, we've got the rate. The easiest way to think about the rate is like the speed at which your money grows or your debt gets bigger. It's almost always talked about as a percentage per year. So, yeah, a higher rate just means things move a lot faster.
Our third ingredient is time. Pretty straightforward, right? It's just how long the loan or investment lasts. Now, here's a key detail you have to remember. For these calculations, we're almost always talking about time in years. That's what keeps all the math consistent.
And that brings us to the final piece, interest itself. This is the result you get when you mix the other 3 ingredients together. It's either the fee you pay for the privilege of borrowing money, or on the flip side, it's the reward you get for letting a bank use your money.
So, we have our ingredients, right? Principal, rate, and time. The big question is, how do we combine them to figure out the interest? Well, for that, you need the recipe.
And listen, this is not just some boring formula you have to memorize for a test. You should think of this as a powerful tool, something you can use every day to make smarter decisions with your money. It's the key that unlocks the whole thing.
And there it is, the master recipe. The interest, which we call I, equals the principal, times the rate, times the time, and then you just divide that whole thing by 100. That's it. It might look simple, but that little formula is behind so much of how money moves in the world. All right, theory's great, but the best way to really get a feel for a recipe is to actually start cooking, right? So let's put this formula to the test with a real-world example.
Okay, here's our scenario. If a sum of 1,500 rupees is borrowed for 4 years at a rate of 9% per year, find the simple interest. This is a pretty standard situation you might run into.
So first step always is to just pull our ingredients out of the problem. Our principal, the starting amount, is 1,500 rupees. The rate is 9%, and the time is 4 years. See? We have everything we need to use the recipe. Now for the easy part. We just plug those numbers right into our formula. So the interest is going to be 1,500 times 9 times 4, and then we divide that whole thing by 100.
And boom, there's our answer, 540 rupees. So what does that number actually mean? Well, that's the total extra money you'd have to pay back over those 4 years. It's the cost of borrowing the original 1,500. Simple as that.
Okay, so that formula is awesome for finding the interest, but what if you have a different kind of puzzle? What if you already know the interest, but you're trying to figure out one of the other ingredients?
Well, this is where the recipe gets really cool. With just a little bit of basic algebra, you can actually rearrange the formula to solve for any piece you're missing. So if you need to find the principal, you just flip it around.
And it doesn't stop there. You can do the exact same thing to solve for a missing rate or to figure out the time. So you see, it's not just one recipe. It's more like a complete financial toolkit packed into one simple equation.
So we've gone through all the definitions, we've done the math, but let's take a step back. Why does any of this actually matter in your real life? What's the big picture here?
You know, this quote really hits the nail on the head. With simple interest, the calculation is always based on that original starting amount, the principal. That means the amount of interest you pay or earn never changes. It's the same this year as it is next year. It's predictable.
So let's just quickly recap the big takeaways. Number 1, simple interest is always calculated on the original principal. That's the key. Because of that, the interest amount is constant and predictable, year after year. It's the engine behind most basic loans and savings accounts. But most importantly, really, truly understanding this is your first big step towards making much smarter money decisions.
So simple interest is steady. It's reliable.
But it's just step one. What happens when the game changes completely? What happens when the interest you earn starts to earn its own interest, creating a kind of snowball effect? Well, that's a whole different story.